If you want to fight the injustices of this monstrous adoption system and its narrative that's seemingly untouchable but harmful and re traumatizes adult adoptees because it drowns out their voices, if you want to fight that system, you have to fight the Hydra. What's a Hydra? A Hydra is a mythological beast with many heads. I think it's Greek. Why do I say Hydra? Well, the adoption system, is a head of that Hydra. Another head of that Hydra is the psychiatry industry. Another head of that Hydra is CPS, Child Protection Services. Another head of that Hydra is Big Pharma, and another head of that Hydra is visible government. This monster is old, and it's the same monster present where black families are torn apart during slavery. Its heads take different forms. It reforms itself, but it's still the same monster. Slavery is all intertwined in this because if you haven't done your studies on slavery, like black families were torn apart and siblings were torn apart, same, to be put on auction blocks, to be made new slaves, to be bred or whatever. So CPS, Child Protection Services, studies prove that black families have their children taken away more than white families, and for far, far less. We've all heard the stories of basically just white people having dirty houses, white children just screaming and throwing things at their parents, abusive things, more than they'd like to, you know, let you know. They keep that on the hush, but take it from me, a black man that's grown up in a white community, there's things they keep on the low. But for black families, if your house is just a little dirty, if you just do this little thing, you can have your children taken away. Meanwhile, it seems like white families are just swinging their kids by their arms. They don't get taken away. So that's an inequality in the CPS system, and it's not done on accident. It's all part to control. So that's one of the heads. Another head is, well, Corey, your parents were psychologically unable to take care of you. And my question is, what were the factors that led to that? They weren't just existing and just crazy just because they're black. No, that's what they want you to believe. What aspects of this society and America, in their experience, led for their spirits to be so broken, for their mindset to be so corroded? Corroded is not the right word. Just so beaten down mentally, spiritually, psychologically, to where they were not able to take care of their own offspring. And I take the reports of CPS with a grain of salt, because they can just say that, what's the word, you're schizophrenic. And then they can just use a big rainbow for schizophrenic. But if you're an empath, if you're psychic, if you have special abilities, they can just label that schizophrenic and take away your children. Schizophrenic is a big umbrella, and there's a reason for that. But anyway, yeah, they can just say, "Oh, your parents were schizophrenic. They were unable to take care of you and take away the children." And even if it were true, how did they get to that point? What was it about living in America as a black man and woman that messed up your mind so bad to where you couldn't even take care of your offspring, if that were true? I think we all know the answer to that. You speak about white fatigue or black fatigue, black people shooting each other in gangs and stuff like that. But that was simply a response to creating, what was it? What was the original? Black fatigue or white fatigue? What was the original? All I know is the original was the stress induced by constantly dealing with inequalities of being black in America. That's my definition. The accumulative stress, the accumulative trauma of constantly dealing with the inequalities of being black in America. So I think that was either the white fatigue or the black fatigue, one of those. And so their response was to that because they didn't want that getting out. They just wanted to minimize the damage. But anyway, I'm running out of time already. I hate this phone. My point is, if you want to attack that, damn it.